Gather round, heroes, and join me for a look into the evolution of Demeo. This episode will look at the new Demeo X Dungeons & Dragons collaborative, Battlemarked, the long-awaited tactical strategy adventure from Resolution that will debut on November 20th. Specifically, I want to examine how much of it is Demeo, how much of it is D&D, and how fans of each are going to like it.
Which one do you think I prefer?
No, I mean, which one do you want to watch first?
This isn't an advanced look at the game, a first impressions video, nor a review. I will be producing Battlemarked videos in the coming months, but barring an arcane eye suddenly appearing in my spellbook, you're going to need to give me some time to find its secrets. And if you're also on the hunt for those secrets, please share what you find. At first glance, you're going to notice how similar the gameplay of Battlemarked is to Demeo, and that's not surprising. Tabletop gaming done right is why Hasbro partnered with Resolution. Even though the visuals are all fresh, the familiar feeling of the underlying engine is strong. Check out the environment. What's familiar is the game board sitting in the middle of your play space. You move around it, just as in Demeo, zooming in and out the same way. What's different is that you're in your rich friend's living room this time. As a gaming environment, this one speaks to me personally. Game modes will include a story mode and one-shot dungeons. The story gives you a mix of brief encounters and multi-level dungeons that operate much like Demeo does. The one-shot dungeons are even more like regular Demeo, seeing you delve into the heart of a dungeon to beat its boss. Possibly you'll have to get back out as well. Each level in Battlemarked feels very much like those from Demeo. Attention has been put into the sightlines, the door placement, differing elevations and room sizes, to make some excellent battlefields. Level size can vary from single encounter settings, much like the Alfarag Monument where you fight the Elven Queen, to much larger maze-like maps. The Fog of War is the same, revealing what you can see and shrouding in dimness what is outside of your party's line of sight. So, just like Demeo, you'll start with a full view of the dungeon layout, including all of the points of interest. This, to me, is something I was hoping could have been pushed in a more D&D direction. Even with a full dungeon map on the table, a DM could always cover portions of it with pieces of paper. I assume darkness will operate in the same way. It wasn't shown in the demo, but one of the early wisdom traits is Eagle-Eyed, which increases vision range by 2, suggesting there will be something that will limit how far you can see. You might not recognize them immediately, but those rooms are still sprinkled with lamps, only now they're called barrels.
Josiah's cousin Joshua was a Cooper, not a Hooper.
And visually they fit in better with the environment while still creating that urge to shoot them. Basic mechanics are the same. Player characters are picked up and dropped where you want them. Even the little targeting reticle is the one from Demeo, not even a facelift there. Moving from one level to another is just a continuation. On the next level, it's still the same character's turn. Negative statuses don't go away. If you don't want to move, you still have the option to skip your turn, but you can also delay your turn to the end of the round. Demeo does this when you're downed, pushing your turn after the rest of the team. Now it's done manually, but you can delay any time, as long as you haven't taken any actions yet. A big change, at least for me, is the grid. It's just gone. So the levels look more organic, but it's more difficult to measure the distance between two pieces. You'll need to rely more heavily on the rangefinder to show you the legal spaces, and fortunately it's received an upgrade, and operates with more consistency and polish. And you'll find quite a few other small changes, like you can't attack an enemy that your party can see if you yourself can't also see it. Sightlines for ranged attacks seem less frustrating, and ranged attacks upstairs are now possible. The card hand is changed to a max of 10 cards total, regardless of whether they are replenishing or not. In Demeo, you got 9 card slots, plus your replenishing cards, so you ended up with 10 or 11 total. Cards are collected by opening chests and filling your card meter, yielding universal and class cards, respectively. We also have a new source of universal cards, the loot bags. When some enemies are defeated, they drop loot. Moving on to the bag collects gold, which is divided equally among the party members, and also a single universal card for the character who picked it up. These replace gold piles. Cards are played on the board as usual, or discarded, not to fill the mana bar, but the card meter. How do they differ? In name only. I guess mana bar sounded too much like something from an organic health food store. Okay, there is one thing. The speed at which you gain cards. I found the Sorcerer and Paladin in particular had to recycle cards constantly. And there are so many different cards. You're not just picking from 6 highly unique options. You've got dozens in Battlemarked, some of them very similar. The silver and gold card borders from Demeo have been replaced by a star icon, representing class cards at the bottom of the card. Now you'll find red and blue borders, which indicate attack cards and utility cards. New statuses like Pacified can limit what cards you play. All dice are 20-sided. The skill die is labeled with numbers 1 to 20. There are supposed to be modifiers based on who's making the skill check, but that wasn't enabled for the demo. It will likely just lower the target number. The attack die has 2 skulls, 15 swords, and 3 crossed swords, in the style of Demeo, and that will slightly increase your chances of a miss. Oh, and you will still mostly crit against targets with 1 hit point, so that hasn't changed. If you played the demo to the end, you'll have the, blue steel die skin unlocked, and Resolution has posted that they are looking into a way to let you port that perk to a meta quest. Combat is nearly identical to Demeo. One new addition is the cone area of effect.
So pretty!
Which is a staple of D&D spells and monster abilities. One aspect of combat that has been extremely fleshed out, to merge both Demeo and D&D rules together, is damage types. All damage now has a type, and it can be physical, psychic, force, poison, radiant, necrotic, thunder, and elemental, which includes acid, fire, lightning, and cold. These damage types are important to remember. Some enemies are vulnerable to certain types, taking double damage, and some are immune. They can also apply statuses which affect other damage types. For example, the Dragonborn's Acid Breath applies acid status on all targets it hits, causing all physical damage to be doubled. Cold and lightning attacks do double damage against wet targets, while fire attacks do half damage. Lightning doesn't dry out wet targets anymore, and cold only freezes them when they're wet. There's all sorts of new interactions like this. Those interactions can get complicated, even more so than Demeo. On the other hand, one thing D&D is known for is more rulebooks than you can fit in Candlekeep, and this is reflected in the clear definition of each card and status, if you know where to look for it. It doesn't lay out all of its secrets, so I feel like I still have a job here. I plan to publish a masterclass series for Battlemarked in 2026, but here are a couple of teasers. Poison no longer does poison damage when passed through, it just applies the poison status, and any damage only at the end of the creature's movement. And this kind of fixes the annoying way that rats would die in poison, but then still bite you and run off before they disappear. Now they bite you and run off, and then die of poison. Tiles still ignite, but now it seems to burn off doing fire damage throughout. But here's the good part. Poisonous clouds are now voluminous, and will ignite even when certain fire attacks pass through them. If Jessix is standing in a poison cloud, she needs to think twice about using that fire arrow. Battlemarked is balanced for 4 characters. It even populates your hero roster with hirelings if you don't have enough players, though you can remove them if you want a smaller party. Demeo's sort of started doing this in its latest update, starting skirmish games with the optimal 3 heroes randomized, so newcomers don't accidentally wander in alone. Unlike Demeo, Battlemarked doesn't scale the difficulty with the number of players. If you walk in with 3 heroes, you're in for a fight. 2 heroes is still manageable for a Demeo master, and going through solo is certified hard-boiled.
I'm alone.
Solo?
In a multiplayer game, you select just one of your personalized characters, and that's the character that gains XP and advances levels. Any of the 4 party slots not occupied by the player can be filled with a hireling. They operate just like your own heroes, but they're level 1, they don't earn XP, and in a public game, they can be replaced by players as they join your room. Leveling up your character will let you give it traits to increase its power. These aren't game-breaking in multiplayer, and it's a co-op game anyhow, so it would never be unfair. Each hero has a unique skill tree, with 3 main branches based off of its class, primary ability, and secondary ability. Your hero is locked into the first 2, but the secondary ability score can be customized. Each of those has 3 sub-branches from which you can select one of 3 options. It looks like when you hit level 10, you will have 9 points to spend on traits, selecting from the 27 traits available to each hero. You can redistribute your points between outings, and the low-level cap is to let players unlock the progression tree quickly so that they can start experimenting with trait combinations. And this will be our opportunity to make a build that really stands out, possibly to the point of being ridiculously unbalanced. Well, I can hope. Some traits can grant you additional class cards, so in a small way, there's a deck-building element to the game now. There appear to be new weapons that you can acquire for your heroes. Some starting weapons like Bolthrax's Greatsword, the Guardian, and Tibby's Runed Staff don't have any effect on gameplay, at least none that's stated on the card. Others grant additional abilities in the form of new class cards. These include Jessix's Longbow of True Strike, which grants her the replenishing Take Aim card, and Ash's Dual Daggers, which grant her the Throw Dagger card. That one is not replenishing, but it returns to your hands if you roll a crit, and can also be received when filling the card meter. The creatures inhabiting these levels are also extremely similar to Demeo. Hit points have been increased about 50%, and some of them have acquired vulnerabilities. Abilities have been removed from the creature's stat block, so now you only see its abilities when it uses them on you. So many new abilities have been created to make the creatures more in line with those from Dungeons & Dragons. For example, quote, a troll regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn. If the troll takes acid or fire damage, this trait doesn't function at the start of the troll's next turn. That's from the official D&D stat block, but it accurately describes what Battlemarked delivers. On the other hand, you can kill a troll even if it's regenerating. That's not right, but you see what they're trying to deliver here. Enemy movement is now 1 space at a time, and the board pieces hop from space to space. They aren't leaping over webbing or slime puddles anymore. They have to go through it if they can't go around. They don't seem able to open doors, but I hope that won't be the case when the game goes on sale. The biggest change to creatures is the addition of different sizes. Large creatures occupy 4 spaces, 2 by 2, and we might see huge creatures.
You know, that hurts my feelings. I've tried going on a date, you know.
This makes them easier to see and hit, since they can't hide behind small obstructions. This larger piece size has already run into a couple of problems, some of which might be fixed in future releases, but some are just fundamental. A large creature still has a single XY location value, and if that space is in the fog of war, you can't see the monster even though you're still able to attack it. A large creature can't move through a tight space, and that sounds fine and realistic, but you can banish one to a place that it can never leave. Finally, a large creature can be blocked by a single stealth rogue or barrel in the middle of a corridor 3 spaces wide. They can move through a tight group of enemies, and we've seen them kick rats out of the way, so maybe in the final game it won't be so easy to trap them with a couple of barrels.
Run, it'll still hit you.
One of the highest profile parts of Demeo is its heroes, the 7 characters through which you interact with the game world. A level 90 has spent hundreds of hours with them, sharing in victory and defeat, and we love their strong personalities, never tiring of hearing the same smack talk over and over. They have storied pasts and personal ambitions that fit into the game world. The history of Gilmera is extensive, setting the stage for the game's events to unfold. And this richness can be seen in its buildings, rune-etched obelisks, and stories told by NPCs. So all of that is staying behind with Demeo. But what we're getting is 1,000 times more with Forgotten Realms. Heck, you can even see what the Emerald Tavern looks like in the Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves movie from a couple of years ago. But I'm digressing. Back to the characters. This is the most pivotal part of the game for engagement. It's also the part that's experienced the most alteration. Battlemarked is taking on a more cartoony vibe, and I think the new style and level design is just gorgeous. Some of the Demeo characters are going to feel familiar, at least the first 5. The Bard is yet to be seen, but the Hunter and Ranger are extremely similar, as are the Assassin and Rogue. The Sorcerers share some similarities, and the Guardian has been split into the Fighter and Paladin. Both have armor. The Fighter retains all the attack cards, while the Paladin retains the knockback. It's best not to be attached to your favorite characters in Demeo, because all of your favorite parts are gonna see some changes. All of the cards that, at least I think, are overpowered have really been scaled back, or in some cases completely removed. I'll give you one example. The Hunter has the Hunter's Mark card. Now, Rangers have the same card, but the only person to benefit from it is other Rangers. And it's the same +3 bonus, and since all of the hit points have increased by 50%, that's actually a bit of a nerf. You have some cosmetic control over your character right away. You can change the name, and you can alter the coloration of the hair, eyes, skin, and clothing accent. A big change to the character pieces is that they no longer move. They're not animated. No more making circles over your head with the staff, or drawing back a bow, or kicking a door open. In Battlemarked, the pieces are static, like actual lead figurines, and they reflect the state of the character, out of combat, in combat, or downed. This seems to be a sticking point for many Demeo players, citing that the animated characters are what elevated the game above the status of a normal tabletop RPG. I'll miss the animation. My partner Jolyn14 isn't bothered by it at all, and appreciates the true board game aesthetic. To each their own. Battlemarked is going to be more accessible to a lot of different people. One of the major complaints about Demeo is the brutal difficulty, and it appeals to a more strategic player who understands the most rewarding games of chess give you a 50-50 chance of winning. Defeat in Battlemarked is extremely difficult. All PCs must be downed, and even while you're downed, you can still move at half speed and attack for 1 damage. There's no limit to the amount of time you can spend in the down state. This and other changes to the rules shift it away from being a challenge towards more of a fun online experience. So what's the verdict? Is Battlemarked Demeo, or is it something else? After playing it, I feel like this will scratch that Demeo itch, no question. It's got Demeo in its blood. It's like the son of Demeo. And like someone's son, it's gonna be different, so brace yourself if you don't like change. This isn't Book 6. That's all for this episode. Hopefully you had a chance to try out the demo at the Steam Next Fest, and if not, there are a lot of YouTube videos showing you what you can expect for the release on November 20th. If you're a true blue Demeo fan, let me know what you think about this new game in the comments. This has been MyWhy, and I'll see you in Helm's Hold.